Welcome to the Businessmen and Women of Color podcast. I am your host, Ann Alston, and it is once again my pleasure to bring quality programs to all of you. I am so excited, yes, again, and this is my favorite, excited to be here with another professional and author here on the platform, and I can't wait to learn more about what she is doing in 2018. And speaking of 2018, again, we have so many amazing people on this platform. This is the place to be if you are a speaker or author or doing any type of profession. It doesn't matter what it is. And so if you're interested in being in this podcast platform to share what you do, please make sure you sign up for the 2019 podcast. And just in case you didn't know what the purpose is, we love to share industry information, and we are encouraging you, the career enthusiast, to teach you what's going on out there in the workplace and in your business so that you can make good decisions. So make sure you take all the time you need to go to all of the pages that we're going to have here on this platform. And also, most importantly, listen to the podcast. Check out the stories from all these different people that is here to share their knowledge and wisdom with you. It doesn't hurt anything to just spend a few minutes just listening in, and also refer people to come to the podcast and check folks out, because we are here to serve you. So before we get into our interview today, we would like to take a moment to thank our corporate sponsors, which are Cat Serrano, LLC, Cheryl Wood Empowers, Concern and Learning, Evangelism Radio, Genesis Preferred Solutions, J Coach International, Nels Tax Help, My Financial Home, Power, STCI, and the Student Teacher, along with our other business affiliate sponsors and everybody who is supporting this event to make it successful. So today we have Valerie J. Lewis-Coleman, who is the owner of penofthewriter.com and queenvpublishing.com. And she has 26 years of engineering career in the automotive industry. She has that type of experience, which I'm really surprised that we have an African-American female who has worked in the engineering career in terms of the automotive industry, and really would love to know more about that. She also has created best-selling books, which she's also going to be talking about today. And she's also co-founded the Daytona Book Expo, which is a regional premier book event, which hosts over 500 authors and thousands of book lovers. And so I can't say enough. I'm going to let her tell you what she does because it sounds very unique. So Valerie, welcome to the podcast.
And thank you so much for having me on your show. I appreciate the opportunity to help your guests understand more about what I do, who I am, and who I serve.
Absolutely.
So you're interested in the engineering part. I heard you say that.
Yeah, because I'm like 26 years engineering career in the automotive industry. So let's talk a little bit about, because that's different. I don't see many females in this industry.
Well, you're absolutely right. There weren't very many females at all, and African-American females even fewer. I pursued an engineering degree, of course, straight out of high school. I went to, at that time, was General Motors Institute, which was General Motors college that they used to feed their engineers. So they trained their engineers the way they wanted them to be in preparation for the automotive industry. So I graduated from there, went on and got my master's, and I worked for GM, which later became Delphi, for 26 years, became a senior engineer, saved the company millions of dollars. As an industrial engineer, it was my job to refine the processes and the systems to take out the waste so that we could do it better, faster, quicker, easier, smarter, for less money, but still produce a quality product and on-time delivery. So that was my job, to focus on the quality and the quantity, saving money, saving time, but still putting out a great product. So that's what I did for 26 years, and then my plant closed in 2007. No. Yeah, along with quite a few other plants. I'm in Dayton, Ohio.
Okay.
Seven plants closed within about a year's time. That we only have one plant left, and that was a major hit to our community because at that time, probably 1, 2, or 3 out of every 10 people who were employed, 1 or 2 of them were tied to the automotive industry in one way or another. So it was a major hit on
Mm-hmm.
our industry, and instead of me going back into some other field of engineering or relocating, because I had the opportunity to possibly go to El Paso, Texas. However, no hablo español muy bien. I wasn't interested. So I stayed in Dayton and I decided to serve professional speakers and experts to magnify and monetize their message by publishing quality books. So I launched my publishing company about a year or two before the plant closed. I saw the handwriting on the wall. I
Mm-hmm.
started writing and publishing books. I had hosted several conferences about 4 or 5 years prior to that. I started out working with an author, Vanessa Miller, who now writes for 3 or 4 different traditional publishing houses. She earns her living as an author. Her house, her car, her livelihood is based off of her being a well-established writer. So she earns her living as a writer. She doesn't have another job. And there's only about 10% of all writers can actually do that. So there's very few number of people who can actually earn a living as a writer. Started out
Mm-hmm.
helping her,
Mm-hmm.
and from there transitioned into writing my own books and then coaching other people through the process. So what I was able to do was transition my engineering problem solving skills into the book business, because writing
Mm-hmm.
is a
Mm-hmm.
right brain function. You have to be creative and
Right. Right.
intuitive,
Mm-hmm.
but the business is left brain. So
Wow. Okay.
yeah, I realized a lot of authors were paying way too much to get their books published. I met people who were spending, one lady literally spent $150 a book to get her book published.
Oh my
She
goodness.
spent,
Okay.
yeah,
Wow.
she spent
Okay.
15,000 for 100 books. I said, if
Oh
you'd
my
give me
gosh.
15,000, I probably could have got you 30,000 books, and I
Oh my
still would have
goodness.
made a profit.
I know that's right.
So,
Okay, so before you
okay,
go any further, though, because this is great information. So you mentioned three different transitions there that I want to kind of pick out. I love doing
okay,
this thing because you were in engineering. And
mhm,
first of all, just talking about engineering, because we still have engineers out there in so many different capacities, may not be in the automotive industry, but
mhm,
they may be in other industries like technologies, like so what I am, and
mhm.
other type of stuff. So being a female in that role, kind of give us your experience of, the things that you may have learned along the way, maybe some challenges you had to overcome, just to do 26 years, because that's a lot of time to
It
do.
absolutely is.
Yeah. So talk a little bit about that as to encourage maybe some people to want to even do that and maybe be aware of some of the challenges they have to face.
Well, as a woman in the engineering profession, one of the things that I had to be mindful of was to make sure that my voice was heard. It was several times, because I'm mainly in a meeting room with Caucasian men, and there would be several instances where I would give input, and it wasn't heard or it was ignored, and then 5, 10 minutes later somebody came up with this great idea. I was quick to tell them, not yours. I said that 10 minutes ago. I don't know why y'all didn't hear it then, but you hear it now. So I had to be very specific or very intentional about making sure that my voice was heard, because it's easy to get overlooked, and discounted because you are a woman in the engineering field. I also had to be very careful not to be labeled as an angry black woman. Not that I'm an angry person, but if you have one incident and you have an outburst, they want to label you, and that's just not in engineering. That's just in general. So I was always very mindful of the fact that I was a black woman in a predominantly white male industry. But as time progressed, not that there were more female engineers, but as time progressed, the plant itself, which was an automotive plant where we made air compressors, became more diverse. So it wasn't as
Okay.
challenging.
Okay.
In the mid '80s, because when I first worked at the plant, it was probably 75%, 80% white men at the hourly employees, the ones who were actually running the equipment. But as time progressed and they advanced in the industry and wanted to get rid of the old labor because of the cost that was attached to them and bring in new people at lower rates, they brought in a more diverse group. So there were more African Americans, there were more women, there were more people. And what I found for me was that was a plus in the fact that I saw more of me in the area. But then for some people, not for myself, but it was a minus to them because now they saw me as a threat. So I
Oh,
had issues
wow.
with some of the other, yeah, I had issues with
Mhm.
some of the other black women who were hourly
Mhm.
employees because
Mhm.
they felt because I was an engineer for whatever reason, they felt that that made them less than me. I never said that. That was just their perception.
Right,
But I have
right.
no problem sitting down and having a conversation with people. So I sat
Mhm.
them down and we've had a little conversation with
Mhm.
several of the women.
Wow.
One young lady, I remember we were in the stall, side by side in the stall. I said, "Why is it that you don't like me? We can't see each other, which is good. No confrontational. Why is it that you don't like me? Well, you always wear dresses. Really? That's what we're gonna talk about." So, and I explained to her, I always wore
Wow.
dresses because when I part of
Mhm.
my career as a engineer took me into supervision because part of what GM
Yes.
Delphi did was to groom their candidates for promotion. So they put me into supervision. So now I'm out on the floor as a supervisor as opposed to being an engineer. And I was directly responsible for about 45 employees. And I wore dresses while I was out there because I didn't want them to forget about me out there. They put me on second shift, back in the back corner, and so I wanted to maintain this professional appearance. I didn't want to just kind of meld into to the mix with everyone else. So I wore dresses. Didn't wear high heels. I couldn't accommodate that in the slippery factory floor. But I wore dresses, and it wasn't to try to appeal to any men or make any women feel any kind of way. I
Mhm.
did it so that they didn't forget I'm an engineer. I'm just out here for a little while. I'm not gonna wear these shop clothes. Y'all want me? I'm not doing that.
That's right. That's right.
Okay, and but the other young ladies took offense to that. I guess because they had to wear work clothes. They were working the line. I guess they felt some kind of way about me wearing my dress. So when I explained it to her and told her what was, she said, "Oh, okay." And it just kind of broke the ice with her. And then other women, as time progressed, I had to sit down and talk. But boy, I don't want your man. I'm married. I don't want. I don't. No, I wasn't
Mhm.
married then. I'm lying. I don't want your man though.
Yeah, it's amazing that I hear you talk about that because you sort of like in the same era that I came in, being, one of very few African American women in technology or in the office doing any kind of technology, or even just a only black person there, or
Mhm.
so it was very difficult, like you said, and I had opposition against other women, either whether it didn't
Mhm.
matter what race they were. For me, in my experience, it didn't matter because I was pretty much the only black female anyway. But
Mhm.
I had other issues, and just like you, they either didn't like me because I had a certain skill, or they didn't like me because my hair was different and I was very versatile.
Mhm.
I was not afraid to wear my hair in different styles. It wasn't really outlandish, but just the fact that I
Mhm.
can be versatile with my makeup and my hair and my dress. And even though I actually pushed computers, like you, I actually wore dresses. I wore dresses and
Mhm.
suits, and it was a lot of problems. But what's really interesting is that, people like yourself and like me, we brush that off and we just keep going because we recognize the bigger picture, which is one, we have to make a paycheck and we don't really have time to deal with all the drama. And two, that we are looking for something bigger within ourselves and not really worried about
Mhm.
all of the jealousy and stuff, because in the end you still have to do your job, you still have to work and talk with people. And I'm glad that you were able to overcome those issues, and you kind of just somehow or another, the penmanship came in. So now I'm all interested in part two of my question is, when did this spark of idea of the pen, you just started writing of the books and just melding your engineering skills and writing skills into the book, concept?
Right. Well, my mother said when I was a child, we did a family time capsule, and she said then that I said I wanted to write a book. I don't remember saying that, but if Mama said it, it is so. And my first book that I actually wrote was a trigonometry calculus book for a fellow student. I was in college. He was in high school as a co-op student who was failing math. And so I wrote this book for him. Of course, I didn't get it published. It was just, my coloring and handwritten book for him. But he was able to use that book as a resource, and he was able to pass calculus and then graduate from high school. So that was my first unofficial book. My dissertation, my undergraduate school, was now called Kettering University, required you to write a thesis. So that was a book that I published, but it was more technical. It wasn't, a narrative or so much of a novel as it was a technical study I had done, a computer-generated analysis to compare whether it's more cost-effective to add another shift or add another machine to this particular machine line. So it was more of a detailed study of assessing what type of changes they need to make in a specific department. But my very first book was about step families, and I wrote that when I was still in the engineering profession because I'm a teacher by, I don't want to say vocation. My vocation is engineering, but I'm a teacher by passion. I love to teach. I love to help people make better life choices. I am in the process now of re-engineering lives through the book business. So when my engineering job left, I adjunct at a couple colleges teaching math, and then I launched Pen of the Writer, my publishing company. And through Pen of the Writer, I've published over 30 books. I've helped thousands of aspiring authors through live events,
Wow.
virtual events. Yeah, actually publishing books for them. My
Hmm.
books have been Amazon bestsellers and other best-selling lists, and most of my clients have also been Amazon bestsellers or other best-selling lists. And
Okay, I'm gonna have
now
to
what I'm
talk to
doing,
you. I'm gonna have to
yes,
get with
ma'am.
you. I'm gonna have to get with you because I need an Amazon bestseller.
Oh, yeah.
I
Well,
think I
it's
need
a
to talk to
strategy.
you. That's right. I need to talk to
It
you. And I'm
absolutely
gonna
is.
tell you, if everybody listening to this, I'm pretty sure you turning up the volume right about now. When she says that she has all these books of Amazon bestseller, I guarantee you, Valerie, about maybe 50 people that jumped up and said, okay, penofthewriter.com.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
That's right. Wow. Amazing. Definitely amazing. So go ahead and continue because
Thank
I
you.
interrupted your flow, but I got excited when you said all of that.
Well, absolutely. Because what I found being in the book business, what I found is that a lot of authors have great stories. They just maybe don't tell them as well as they should with the editing aspect of it. And when you talk about self-publishing, a lot of authors don't understand the business side of it. So they are trying to cut corners, and they're cutting corners the wrong way. So you don't cut the corner by editing yourself. You don't cut corners by creating your own cover. Because what happens is when you put your book out on Amazon up against 10 million other books out there, your book looks amateur and it won't sell. So I have people now who come to me for the relaunch of their books because what has happened is they've created books that may have great stories, but they did things that maybe are wrong on their cover. And as I explain to my clients now, when you have your book release is kind of like a funeral. And I say it's like a funeral because you have all these people who surround you the couple of weeks before, maybe a couple of weeks after. They're posting on Facebook, I want a copy. That's so wonderful. I'm so proud of you. They're buying your books. They're referring other people to you. They're being very encouraging and supportive as if you were, just coming to a funeral. But after the repass, after the book release, if you don't have a plan in place, a strategy, if you haven't created a book that has more universal appeal, then what's going to happen is you're going to start hearing crickets. Just like after the funeral, people are there for a little while and then you don't hear them
Uh,
about anymore. They go back to
wow.
their lives. So you have to be very strategic in your marketing plan. So what I'm doing now is relaunching, helping authors whose
Hmm.
books have been out and maybe been out for a while but just didn't get the success they wanted, helping them relaunch their books. And I'm doing that through, of course, my company, Pen of the Writer. So
Hmm.
what is happening is like one author, she wanted to be an Amazon bestseller. So we worked together for about 5 or 6 months. She went from 0 reviews to I think she has 40 now. She went from no Facebook fan page to over 300 or 400 on her Facebook fan page.
Hmm.
She absolutely hit the Amazon bestsellers list. But long before we even got to the bestsellers list, I critiqued her manuscript from cover to cover. Some of my clients call me a beautiful bully because I just grab hold and we're going to get this thing right because I want them to succeed. I'm not about taking your money and spending it and then not giving you results. I'm a results-oriented person. That's what I did as an engineer. I got results for Delphi. I get results for my clients. So they become bestsellers. They get more book reviews. They land interviews with syndicated radio shows and TV shows and get front page coverage on newspapers and press releases that go out to hundreds of thousands because all that is part of the strategy to be able to be an Amazon bestseller or to be taken seriously. One of
Yeah.
my clients, mhm.
No, I would say yeah, because
Oh.
one of the things I was going to ask you to do, in because you're like
Mhm.
in the moment of that, is we always talk about Amazon bestseller, and so I want our authors to really truly understand what exactly this means. Because somebody asked me this the other day, where they said,
Mhm.
"Oh, I want to be an Amazon bestseller," and and I'm like, okay, you go out there, you don't really know how many people are buying your book, but you have ratings,
Mhm.
so as far as I know there are categories. I know there are different ways that you can be considered an Amazon bestseller, but what is that really? Oh.
Well, you're exactly right. There are several ways to get there. And I know of Facebook groups who do this strategy where you make your book free and then tell them about it, and then they all go download it, and then you become an Amazon bestseller. See, to me, that is like to me, that's not an integral way. There's no integrity in doing that because first of all, you're giving your book away, so you're not making any money. And if you can't get bestsellers list by giving your book away, something's wrong. So what I do with my clients is I help them to make money and become bestsellers. And there are a lot of different strategies. One of them is looking at the categories. That isn't a very important factor. But the other part of it is being sure to understand specifically how Amazon works, how they
Mm-hmm.
work when it comes to the bestsellers, how do they work with the categories and the keywords, and having a strategy in place, a plan in place to boost those sales. Because what happens is, again, there are over 10 million books on Amazon. You put your book out there, unless you have a very detailed marketing plan in place, that book will just sit out there with the other 9,999,000 and never sell.
Mm. Wow.
Most
Okay.
books on Amazon don't sell because they just put them out there and like, okay, with the philosophy of if I build it, they will come. Well, that worked
Mm-hmm.
in the field of dreams. That's not going to, you got to get out of that field of dreams, got to quit dreaming and put some work behind that strategy.
Yes. Yes.
It
Yes.
really is. It's a lot of work. There,
Mm-hmm.
some people can get on the Amazon bestsellers list over and over and over again. I've been on there multiple times. And the thing about the Amazon bestseller list is it recalculates every hour. But once you hit that list, you are a bestseller for the rest of your life, even if you never hit the list again.
Oh wow. Okay, that is
Yeah,
one good thing
yeah,
to know.
right,
Okay.
right. And a lot of people,
Nice.
they don't know that. So once you hit the list, you know, you want to capture that, and that's more social proof than anything. Because once you make the list, you know you're on the list. But to document it so that other people know you're not making it up. People do shady things to try to get on the list. I've heard of people who categorize their book in a way crazy category that has nothing to do with their book, and a category that only has a few books in it. And if they sell two books, they're a bestseller. Again, to me, there's no integrity in that. That's
Mm-hmm.
it's a schemey, it's a manipulative, it's a deceitful way to be labeled a bestseller. Now,
Mm.
if that's what if that's how you want to roll, that's your business. But it's not a genuine accomplishment. And for me, it's important for my clients to have real, genuine success, real
Mm-hmm.
accomplishments. One of my clients, he's landed multiple interviews as a result of participating in my Build Your Virtual Brand program. He's landed multiple interviews with um, TV, blogs, radio. I'm not just talking about interviews like there are tons of different ways to be interviewed. So
Yeah,
when I
but I
say
mean, but in
interview,
other words,
right.
it's being driven because of accurate marketing for the business, for your book.
Absolutely.
And I'm gonna tell you, just like you're talking about that outside of Amazon, you still have to have the same thing. Like, when I go to places, I take my book with me, or
Mhm.
if somebody, invites me to like a dinner or something, I have one in my purse, and then I tell people about it
Mhm.
if the time or the conversation presents itself. I just don't whip out a book and
Absolutely.
say, here's my book, right? So if the
Right.
conversation goes that way and they happen to ask about it, that's when I tell people about the book. And believe it or not, I sell my book better that way than just walking up and say, this is what I do, this is what I wrote, this and that and the other. And
Mhm.
they didn't even ask for that information. So knowing how to market your
Absolutely.
book is very, very key. And I like the fact that you are very straightforward on this podcast about, look, if you really want to be a bestseller at anything, get the people who really see your book as a bestseller. Just don't have people just
Mhm.
download your book and like you said, and just all of a sudden you're on the bestsellers list, because I've heard a couple of those things too. But then
Mm-hmm.
also know what the purpose of your book is. Is it really for you to sell to get, on the list, or is it a tool to help you market yourself further in your business, like more speaking gigs or maybe collaboration with organizations because you wrote a book that is useful for something? I think
Absolutely.
I think it's really critical for people to understand what is the purpose of your book overall, between you and your business. So that was really some really good points there.
Absolutely. That's what I have. I have a writers workshop coming up March 31st, and that's one of the
Hmm.
first things I'm going to share with them is understanding what is your message, who are you writing to, and what message do you want to convey to them? Because a lot of people, the Lord has given me a story, or I'm inspired, or people tell me I should write a book, but I don't know what to write about, or I have so many ideas I don't know which one to start with. So, those are two opposite extremes, but the problem is the same. I don't know how to write this. And if you don't have a very clear understanding, again, it goes back, as an engineer, I'm very methodical. If you don't have a very clear understanding of what your message is, who you're writing your message to, how you're going to reach that person, what's going to make your book unique, because out of the 10 million books on Amazon, yours has to stand out, and it's not because you got a different cover or you got a unique name spell, and that's not what's going to get you there. You have to be very strategic and specific on intentional on how you want to leverage your book. And I agree with you. There are multiple streams of income that come from books. So for me, I get paid speaking engagements. I get the opportunity to sell my books when I'm speaking. For me, that's when I have the most impact with people because they can connect with me. The nonverbal, I'm animated, so they're all in. And when they connect with you, then they like you more. They're more inclined to purchase from you. So speaking engagements are best for me. I host my own live events from conferences. I do the Dayton Book Expo, as we talked about, which is a
Hmm.
region-wide book event held in
Hmm.
Dayton, Ohio. This year, right now, we have 80 authors registered. We tend to have 500 plus people come through, and we work with Sinclair College, which is our annual sponsor. My Mobile Mommies is a sponsor, and we also have this year a union, which is where I came out of a union workshop. The IUE CWA Local 755 is also a sponsor this year. And so what I've done is put myself into a position where I can help authors from all perspectives, from the writing perspective, the publishing perspective, and the marketing perspective. So I offer mentorship. I have books on writing and publishing, the live events. I'm working on a virtual online course. I'm working on a writer's retreat because some people don't so much need direction to write. They just need that quiet space to write. So I'm going to create an environment conducive to liberation, freedom, and creativity. So I'm going to do some physical exercise, not
Hmm.
anything strenuous, but like some yoga,
Yeah.
relaxation. I'm going to have someone do some meditation techniques. I'll
Hmm.
have someone there giving chair massages, all those things that help to relax because when we're tense, we're frustrated with the dredges of life. When we have roof shingles blown all over the yard, we can't focus.
That's right. I'm gonna tell you, I was
Okay?
crazy. I'm telling you, my shingles went everywhere, and I couldn't focus
I
on
know it.
nothing. And
You can't.
you're
You can't.
absolutely right. And I love the fact that you're doing something very unique, which is you're actually providing different platforms for
Mhm.
people to be able to write and be creative and actually become unstuck. Because, like you said early on in your interview, there's a lot of people that don't know how to bring it out. But if they are more relaxed, they'll just be able to just dump it all into a book. And then when they go back and read it, they can redefine it and things like that. The
Mhm.
hardest part is actually starting the book, just
Right.
actually starting the first paragraph and then trying to figure out where you're going to go. But if you're tensed up, I like the fact that you are providing that. There's not many publishers that is offering that type of service.
Absolutely. Well, it's important for me because I get authors and aspiring authors who are at different levels of where they are. When I first started, I just was having a conference that focused more so on writing and publishing. And as I advanced on, I just realized that for some people the publishing was too much. They weren't ready for the publishing. They were like, okay, well, I still haven't written my book yet. You talking about covers and ISBN and EAN and LCCN and LLC, and this is too much. So I branched off from that point then to incorporate more focus on just the writing. So I do writing exercises. I give writing prompts. I give ideas and cues. We talk about editing, self-editing, and all the different layers of editing, which is what a lot of authors, self-published authors, tend to skip. They want to pay their English teacher or their cousin Pookie and Ray Ray and them who like to read, and that's not sufficient for their book writing.
For the Dayton Book Expo that you talked about, and going back to, I really appreciate you sharing all of the different things that you also help those different level of authors, and you have pretty much the same thing at your expo. What has been the impact, and how long have you been doing the expo in your area for the authors that come out and register to be at your event? And who are the type of people who attend to look at these books? Are they organizations, individuals, or, special groups? I'm just kind of interested as people who are coming out to see these authors and their books.
Absolutely. Well, the website is DaytonBookExpo.com, and the authors come from all over. We actually have, we've had interest from as far as Uganda, but because of the legalities, they weren't able to come over here, but they have been trying to come for a few years, a couple authors from Uganda. We have authors writing in all genres. The bulk of the authors who come are self-published, although we've had traditionally published authors there as well. Most of them are self-published. Most of them have more than one book published, so they may have 2 or 3 books that they want to present, and they write in a myriad of genres. We have refined our genre categories down to inspirational, fiction, nonfiction, and then children's books. At one point, we also had biographies, autobiographies, but we weren't getting a lot of those, so we removed that category. So the books fall into those 4 categories, but of course, as you know, in fiction, it could be Christian fiction, romance fiction, it could be, I don't know. We ask that we don't get erotica, and not that we don't accept erotica books. We don't want racy covers and racy titles because this is a family-friendly event. So we've had people who wanted to sell urban fiction books, which is solely okay, but if you've got the F word in your title or you got naked women and guns, and you can't have that book on display because we have children walking through. Absolutely.
Right.
It's a family-friendly event. So we try to be very mindful of that because we do have children's authors there, and we have organizations who come through and bring their kids. So we've had church organizations come through, daycares have come through. The event is held on Saturday, but people come through with their children. Grandparents come through with their kids, and then parents come through with their children. But it's not just about the children, of course. I would say our children's authors probably make up about 20% of our authors this year. The bulk of them are fiction, and in fiction we have the mystery. I know we have someone who's written mystery in there, and historical fiction, and all kind of other horror, paranormal, sci-fi, all that's rolled up into the fiction category. Okay. So the authors have the opportunity to win crystal plaque in their genre, and also book medallions for the author who sells the most books at the expo only, and we track those. The author transacts the business themselves, but we have an area where we ask people to come up so that we can record the book sale. And if the book has been autographed by the author, then we're taking that as, okay, you sold that book. It's just autographed to this person. We check the book off, and then we count it. And then at the end of the day, we give away a crystal plaque, book medallions, and then the author gets a special press release written out that goes out to 20,000 plus people, and then they get year-long promotion on our website. This year, we've added a writing contest. So we have a youth writing contest. So young people from 4th grade to 12th grade have an opportunity to win money and be recognized citywide, because we'll do a press release for them when it's over. And their story that they're writing on, or the theme of their story, is reading is my superpower. We really want to be advocates for our young people to read and write, because when they have those skill sets, those are transferable skills to the workplace, to higher education, and even being able to read their bills and, whatever aspect of it there is. then it's an opportunity for us to help them to do better and be better.
Yeah, absolutely. That sounds wonderful. I'm gonna tell you, I'm sitting here listening, I'm getting all excited, and I can actually just visualize all this action that you're talking about in the description of this expo. I've actually participated too in a book thing, and it was very, synonymous with what you're saying with all the family members coming in, and there were so many
Hmm.
different titles and categories and people, and it was just really interesting. And we need to have more of those type of things here in Prince George's
Absolutely.
County, Maryland. So one of the questions I want to ask, because we're getting down close to the end of your interview, is do you feel that the traditional way of publishing books is dying out? We have so many people now, it's self-publishing, it's like going through the roof. Do you feel like that going to an actual publisher and going down the road of whatever you have to do to get it published is sort of like becoming obsolete?
I wouldn't say it's becoming obsolete, but it definitely is changing. Just like the automotive industry, when we got more competition coming in from the Japanese, I'm talking way back when I first started, from the Japanese automakers, we
Mm-hmm.
GM had to change. We had to change our strategy. We had to do things differently. We had to improve our quality. We had to reduce our costs. We had to have better features and offerings for our customers because now they have other options. And that's the same thing when it comes to the traditional publishing houses. They are refining their systems. They are laying off because they aren't publishing as many new authors because it's risky for them. And what I'm finding now is a lot of traditionally published authors, once they've built their platform and leveraged themselves with the publishing house, some of them have gone off now and started self-publishing because now they get more of that money is theirs. When you're traditionally published, the publisher makes the most money because they've incurred the most risk. They pay for the publishing of the book. They pay for the marketing. They pay for the editing. They pay to put you in front of paper. They pay for distribution and placement. So because they incurred the risk, they make the most money. And unless you're selling tens of thousands and millions of books, the author can't necessarily make a living off of a single book.
Yeah.
But what is happening now with the self-publishing industry, because
Mm-hmm.
more people are jumping on the bandwagon and publishing books, and there are good books out there that are self-published, some have been made into movies, that people have more options. What the traditional publishing houses now are doing is they are refining their systems, they're laying off, and they are being very um, strategic and intentional on whom they select because they are in a more volatile situation. They are more selective in who they will choose to publish books. So what I tell my clients is if your goal, your overall objective is to be picked up by a traditional publisher, the best way to get in the door is to build your platform, build your brand, build your fan base, sell tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of books on your own as a self-published author. They will come to you because you've already proven that you have the ability to sell books. But if you have never sold a book in your life and you try to reach a traditional publisher, more than likely you're going to get turned down because you're a risk. They don't know what you're capable
Mm-hmm.
of doing because you haven't done anything yet. They don't know if you have a fan base. You don't have a YouTube page. You don't have Facebook. You don't
Don't
have
have
any
nothing.
followers.
Wow.
So it's a risk. It's risky for them. So the best
Mm-hmm.
way to get picked up by a traditional publisher, like I mentioned, Vanessa Miller, she started out
Mm-hmm.
self-publishing. Now she writes for 3 publishers because she was selling a lot of books and she had a significant fan base. And so they were like, yeah, this particular candidate here is going to write. She's going to write well. She's serious about her craft and she has a following. So we are more than likely going to make our money back from her.
Nice. Okay, so I have one last question for you before you
Hmm.
go into giving your contact information. Is that if someone wants to become a publisher because you've given so much in-depth information about what it really takes for you to run your business, but if there's someone out there who is aspiring to do what you do, what are 3 tips that you can give that person on the best way to become a publisher? You already gave the information about publishing, but now we're looking at
Hmm.
it from an entrepreneur's perspective.
So one of the first things you need to do if you want to launch a publishing house is understand the business. So do your research. Make sure you understand the risks, the threats, the challenges, the hurdles that would have to be overcome. You have to be very clear on, why you're doing this because it can get very challenging at times. If you don't have a good why and you get frustrated, it's easy to quit. So first you have to research and understand the business. And I will tell anybody, if you want to be successful at it, your best approach to getting there is to hire a mentor who's already done successfully what you want to do. So I am a mentor / coach, and I've hired a couple of mentors / coaches to take me to the next level. So if you want to be successful at it and have quantum leaps over the mistakes that most new publishers make, you want to hire someone who can help you avoid those obstacles, because they're going to be there. And if you don't understand the dynamics of business, if you don't understand the legality of business, if you don't understand the accounting of business, then you're going to make a lot of mistakes, and mistakes that could cost you your business and your home if you don't do things in the proper order. So you don't want to get in trouble with Uncle Sam and Aunt Sally. But there's things that if you don't understand that, and a mentor can help you avoid those type of things. And then thirdly, I would say commit to it. If you're sure that publishing books is what you want to do, commit to it, because this is an ever-changing industry. The e-books, the audio books, I'm sure there's going to be something else coming down the line real soon. Animated books, I don't know what they're going to do. They're going to do something else real soon. So you have to be in a perpetual state of learning, understanding the business, understanding your clients' needs, understanding your goals and objectives. So that would be what I would say. Research, get a mentor, and then be committed to the process.
Right. Very powerful. So give everybody your contact information so they can find you, come out to your expo, because everything you're going to give now is also going to be on your page, but we're going to have a lot of people on mobile devices who are listening to you and may want to just quickly get the information.
Absolutely. So my website is penofthewriter.com, and that's PEN as an ink pen, penofthewriter.com. I also have a website where I publish books for people, which is Queen V as in Valerie, queenvpublishing.com. And the annual expo that I host is the DaytonBookExpo.com. And if they want to call, my number is 888-802-1802. We can connect that way. And I also offer complimentary discovery sessions with people so I can find out what their needs are and how I can best serve them to meet them.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Valerie, for sharing all of this powerful information, because basically you gave them the A to Z on what they need to do for the publishing. And then amazingly, your engineering background was still utterly amazing. And I encourage people to still investigate being in the engineering industry. It is so vital that we get into every aspect of engineering, because technology is never going to go anywhere. And it's something that we all need to make sure we thoroughly understand and learn what that's going to mean for us going forward in the years to come. And so I want you guys to look down at this page, call her. If you are trying to publish a book, you have right here Valerie on the podcast, and she is no nonsense. As you can hear, she's no nonsense, and she will tell you that you'll mess it up, and this is what you need to do. So if you want the straightforward, if you want someone who really cares about your success, Valerie Lewis-Coleman, okay? Valerie Lewis-Coleman, that's what you need to remember on this podcast. And you can rewind this thing as many times as you want to get the information that she said, because I'm serious. I am so dead serious like you. I am very intentional to make sure that people get this information, and you can listen to it like forever. And you should be able to reach out to folks like you and all the other authors we have on this podcast to get your book written, and also be on the bestsellers list the right way. So thank you so much for sharing that. I am definitely inspired, and I'm gonna have to connect with you because I gotta get my book relaunched. I'm trying to get to the next level. I'm on a 2018 on a mission. I'm on a mission. So if I don't know about y'all, but that's what I'm gonna do. So thank you so much for being on this podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.